You have your NFL running back tier list. You have elite, great, average, a fringe starter, and a backup. First things first, I believe that is J.K. Dobbins. He had a good rookie season. He had like 800 yards in like a run. Why he had to share the ball with like three other running backs. Last year he was injured, and I can definitely see him being a great running back, but he hasn't shown me outside of his rookie year where he got 800 yards. And I'm not sure how well he will be as a starting running back. I still think he is very good, but as of right now, I put him in average, and he has missed a year. Then you got, I believe that's Singletary. Singletary. The Bills do not run the ball a lot, but Singletary, even when he runs, he's not that good. I don't remember. He didn't have a great season. I don't think he reached 1,000 yards, and he never had a good season. He has had decent seasons, but I don't believe on any other team he would be the starter. And the Bills are a pass heavy team, but he hasn't shown me enough, and he does not get a lot of yards per carry. And I put him as a backup for now. Then you got Joan Mixon. He did well this year actually. I think he had like over 1,100 yards, and this year he was good, but he has been inconsistent. He gets injured a few times, and I think if he stays healthy, I think he can eventually become a lead. He's a great receiving threat and a runner, but he's just too inconsistent with his injuries. So I put him in great. Then you have Nick Chubb. I believe he still had 1,000 yards this year, and he got injured and missed like a few games, and that makes him. And last year, I think he was like 1,900 yards and or like 1,500. I don't remember, but he almost got the rushing title for the most rushing yards like 2 years ago. And even with Kareem Hunt, he is still very effective. I do not know why the Browns don't use him more, but he is an elite running back. And I believe that's Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Gordon, he was good last year. I think he had over 900 yards this year, and I think he was best when he was with the Chargers as a dual threat. He is a good receiver. I think he once caught like over 50 passers and a strong runner, but that was with the Chargers a few years ago. And as of right now, I put him at fringe. Then I believe that's Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon's running mate. He also had a good season. I think he also had over 900 yards, splitting with Gordon, and he's still a rookie. He had a good rookie season. As of right now, I put him as fringe, right next to Gordon, because he has not earned the starting job yet. He's still split carries. Next year, we'll see. Next year, I think he can be a great running back. Then I believe that is these next two. I believe that's David Johnson. Johnson is so washed. I believe that is James Robinson. And Robinson, he had a great rookie season, over 1,000 yards. And then last year, he got injured a few games. He was not used. He had bad trouble with Meyer, and it was just a drop-off season for him after a great rookie season. And for now, I put him in fringe starter. He can definitely be a starter, but Jaguars just kind of ruined him. And then that Jaguars number one, I believe that's ETN. He did not play this year. Then you got number 25, CEH, Clyde Edwards, Hilaire. Him for the Chiefs, there's like I said, they aren't that heavy. They are a heavy passing team, so he doesn't get many opportunities. Um, he has looked good. He looked good, and when he first played, he had a good rookie season, but he has dealt with injuries, causing him to miss a lot of games. And I put him at fringe. Then I believe you have Josh Jacobs. He has been great ever since he came into the league. He had 1,000 yard season after 1,000 yard season. He did get injured a bit, and that caused his production to be down. But overall, he's a great running back. Then next up, I think that's Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake has always been better as a backup. As a starter for Miami, he was not that good, but as a backup for the Cardinals and the Raiders, he has been much better. So he's a definition of a good backup. Then next up, you got Gaskin. He is a good receiving threat, but he's not a very hard runner. He's a decent blocker, but he's a great receiving back. I put him at backup. Then you have then I believe that's Damian Harrison. He's a decent running back. I think he had over 800 yards. Last year he had a great season. I think he averaged over like 5 yards a carry. This year, it was more of a running back committee, so he's not a starting running back. I put him at fringe. Still, he can be though. And I believe that's Michael Carter for the Jets. He had a good rookie season for the Jets, but He's just not a starter yet. I put him at fringe. Then you got Najee Harris. His yards per attempt was not great, but he's still over 1,000 yards, and I think he had like over 50 catches. I feel that's a super underrated part of his game. He's a great receiver, and he runs super hard. And the Steelers offensive line was not great, and he ran a lot. And I put him at great. Even after one season, I still think he's a great running back because he's dual threat. Then you got Derrick Henry, obviously a lead. Last year he had almost 2,000 yards in like 8 games. This year he had like 900 yards. Then you got Cordell Patterson, an interesting case. I'm not sure if he's a pure running back, but as he's not for me, he's not a pure starting running back, but he's a great dual threat. I just don't believe he's a starting running back, and he's definitely a very good backup running back. But I think if he's a starting running back, he can do well. But for me, I think he's best when he's catching the ball and running the ball. So I put him at fringe. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. A year ago, I would have put him at elite, but since then, he's missed a ton of games. I still believe if he comes back, he would be great. I think this year, or was it last year, he played a few games and he was great in them. In like 2 seasons ago, he had 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving, but his injuries have caught up to him. I put him in great for now. Then I believe that's Montgomery. Montgomery, he plays for the Bears. He plays for the Bears. I'm not sure. I think he missed he missed like 8 weeks. He missed like half the season, I believe. But in the weeks he did play, he was super effective for the Bears. He got touchdowns. What you want in a running back? He's consistent as hell. I put him in great. I believe that's Tariq Cohen definition of a backup running back. Then I believe that's Swift. He he was actually having a very good season. He's a great dual threat running back. He's a great catcher, great runner, strong runner, and I feel like he would have had a great season had he played all the games. I put him in great. Then you got Aaron Jones. Last year he was good. This year he started splitting carries with AJ Dillon. He is still great. He can still catch the ball. He can still run it, but he has lost his position a bit to AJ Dillon. Like I said, he is still a very good runner. I think he can start for any other team. Great dual threat. For now, I put him at average. Definitely had an off year, and it was injured a bit, but he can definitely be great when he's fully healthy. And I believe, don't get me wrong, is that Cam Akers or Sony Michel? I don't know. I feel like Cam Akers is more of a head-on running back, and Sony Michel, he can catch really well. I believe they're both average starting running backs, and they can both start for teams. Then you got Davin Cook, elite. If he wasn't injured so much, he'd probably be he is right now considered top like 3 or top 5. But if he wasn't injured so much, I think he would be in conversation for the top running back. I think he's a great dual threat, better receiver than Derrick Henry, and is such a strong runner. Then you got Saquon Buckley. He had one good season where he had 1,400 yards. And he got 1,000 yards, and since then he's been injured so much. I'm not sure how he'll look when he comes back. I put him at average at best. And I believe Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard. He went to last year. He was on Miami. Terrible. Came back to the Eagles, and it was actually pretty decent. He electrified the Eagles running game. He's a heavy, strong runner. Not much of a receiving threat, but I would not use him as a starting receiver. Maybe in a running back committee, he would be good, but I put him at fringe. Then you have Chris Carson. He was injured like a lot this year, and previous year, when he's healthy, he's good. When he's not, but he gets injured way too much. If he's healthy, he's great, but he gets injured way too much, so I put him as average. And he's not much of a receiving threat. Then you got the Niners. One of their many running backs. I say Eli Mitchell. I think he had a great season. He had like over 800, 900. I don't know. Did he reach 1,000 yards? He was great for the San Francisco 49ers. He definitely missed a few games, but he is overall great receiving threat as well. His running game, I'm not sure if it's because of the San Francisco's O-line, but his running game, it looks smooth. Put him at average. Then you have Ronald Jones. I believe he can be a starter, but he's just behind Leonard Fournette right now. He was improving from his rookie season where he got like 800, 900 yards, and then Leonard Fournette came and took the job. I think he can be a starter for another team, so I put him at fringe. Then you could Antonio Gibson. He had a good rookie year, and then he just dropped off. Last year, he was kind of the biggest fantasy disappointment, but not fringe. J.D. Madisic, I think that's how you pronounce it. But he is, like many of these guys, a definition of a backup, and he's not even in the starting role. Then you got Kareem Hunt. Being behind Nick Chubb, he has still produced like 800 rushing yards, and he's a great receiver. If he was on any other team outside of the Browns, he would be a starting receiver, and I put him at average. Then you have Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, he's elite. He led the league in rushing last year, and he carried the Colts. Then you got Hines, his backup. He's a great receiving threat, and I mean he's great receiving. He's just not a starting running back. I put him at backup. Then you got Austin Eckler. Ever since Melvin Gordon took his holdout, he has just been shining and shining. I think he had over 900 yards and he had like 18 touchdowns this year. He's a great dual threat and a very tough runner for his size. I put him at great. Then I believe that's James White. He's washed at this point. He's at best a backup. A great receiver though. Then you have James Conner. James Conner, he got a ton of touchdowns for the Cardinals last year, but he tailed off near the end. He started off pretty hot, and but ended up with only 800 rushing yards. Definitely part of the Cardinals' late season collapse. Average. Then you have Chase Edmunds. He looks good when he has the opportunity to run the ball, but he's still a backup. He's a backup on his own team, and I feel like he could get a potential starting spot, but I put him at backup. Then you have Ezekiel Elliott. He has just been declining every year since his rookie season. I think he had 1,000 yards this season, and I think the wear and tear of being a running back is starting to catch up to him. I put him at average. Then you have what is that? Alvin Kamara. He is great dual threat. He doesn't get a ton of rushing yards, but he gets like 1,000 rushing yards and then like 800 receiving yards. A great dual threat from an elite. Then I believe is that Fournette. Fournette. I thought Fournette wore 7. I don't know. I remember Ronald Jones being up here. Ronald Jones, and that has to be Fournette, though I don't remember him wearing double digits. If it was him, I feel like he's found a home in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially in the playoffs. In the playoff, he's like an elite running back, average, but during the regular season, I put him in average. Then I believe that's what Philip Lindsay in the Texas uniform. He's a backup. He got injured. After back-to-back 1,000-yard season. He has not looked the same. Do you have him at NFL running back tier ranking?